What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Top Rope, Off the Mic Sports Network. Wherever you are watching this video, it's much appreciated. Thanks to everybody who subscribes to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you're into wrestling, hit the bell for notifications. Subscribe to this channel. We get a lot of wrestling content. We're going to be getting into more sports content for you sports fans. We're close to 1,800 subscribers. I'm incredibly grateful. Showing it. I can't say enough good things. You guys are such a great community. Who just is listening to just this guy, just talk about wrestling. But I wanted to talk about something that really was interesting on Monday, from WWE, and I got to tip my cap to John Pollock, also Brandon Thurston over at Post Wrestling. John Pollock, if you guys remember, he was one of the first people on the whole Seth Rollins injury is a work thing, and so he had an interesting report, John Pollock and Brandon Thurston over at Post Wrestling, where they basically said that WWE is looking to add a premium live event in September. Because if you guys noticed that WWE has a gap between Clash in Paris and, Crown Jewel in Perth. Clash in Paris is, August 31st, and then Crown Jewel in Perth is in October. So there's a significant gap, which I don't have a problem with because there's literally been an event every 3 fucking weeks, and it's hard to keep track and be consistent with storylines. So anyway, Post Wrestling, and these guys spoke with multiple sources with knowledge of the WWE event schedule that there's a confirmed, yet to be announced premium live event set to take place on Saturday, September 20th from Indianapolis, Indiana. You may be asking yourself, Mike, what is the significance of that date? You AEW fans probably already know the answer to that question. That is the same day as All Out from Toronto. AEW, one of their flagship events. The first time that they've actually not done that in Chicago, which is kind of outside of COVID. So that's kind of a significant thing there. And that event's actually selling really well. They're close to, I think they're close to 10,000 seats out for that show. And, I would expect that that's going to be the show where Adam Cope, and Christian are going to reunite and probably face FTR, whether it's for the tag team championships or not. That it could shape up to be a pretty good show. So, listen, everybody thinks that, I hate AEW. I think that they're scared. I think they're cowards. Yes, to some of that. I'm just going to say this. When the counter-programming stuff happened back in July, where WWE put on basically 3 events over the course of a weekend, where you had Saturday night's main event, you had NXT Great American Bash, and then you had Evolution to counter-program all in Texas. And did it really change anything? No. And in the grand scheme of things, listen, a lot of wrestling is tribal. So if you're a diehard AEW fan, you're probably not going to watch whatever this event is. Some people are speculating it's Bad Blood. Andrew Badalla, who's a great follow on Twitter, who has a lot of inside sources in that, he's speculating that it might be Bad Blood. So maybe we get a Hell in a Cell match. That'd be cool. Indianapolis, some people will immediately go to the Shield ties. I don't think Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, they would do it at a random show like that. They should do that at a WrestleMania in Indianapolis. But I'm not going to lie with you guys. I don't try to beat around the bush or anything like this. I think this sucks. Initially, I was like, okay, good, healthy competition. Now it's getting a little bit ridiculous. Why can't events have separate weekends? Listen, I may not like what a lot of, AEW's business practices or, some of the stuff they do wrestling wise, but you have a significant gap or, what is it? Pretty much like a whole month. I would say 5-6 weeks because it's 31st. And I think it's like 12th, middle of October where you're going to have Crown Jewel. Do you really need another PLE? You've already stacked the calendar throughout the year. You've burned everybody's pockets for money. And you're just trying to counter program just to try and, bury AEW. Here's what I'll say. Let AEW bury themselves. Let them bury themselves. Because it's clear that they don't want to, be motivated to do anything because they have opportunities to take advantage of it. And Tony Khan's dead set in his ways of not doing anything. But if you keep lighting a fire and pouring gasoline on it by counter programming one of their biggest shows of the year, Tony Khan is a petty motherfucker. And that guy is going to go out there and try to book the best fucking wrestling card for his diehard sicko fan base. And Toronto is a great crowd. And as I said, Cope and Christian, that is going to be a potential, drawing opportunity for them to, have a big time spectacle of a match with, one of the great tag teams of all time reuniting, possibly more than likely against FTR, one of the best tag teams in the world, whether you like how they act on social media or not. There's no need, especially on a college football weekend when a lot of fans, I don't have the schedule in front of me for the 20th of September. So you're really going to do that and have people, if they're fans of both companies, you're going to have to make them choose. You're going to have to watch one separately. Us content creators are going to have to do the whole side-by-side watch along. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Like, from a business perspective, I can kind of see the opportunity of you wanting to bury the competition. If anything, why don't you just book compelling television for your own company and let AEW do whatever they want to do with themselves? It's nice to have a solid, number 2, number 3. Some people will say, I get conjecture about it. Listen, AEW has a lot more talent on its roster. They may not be booked as bad as good as some of the other, places across, the entire world, but, they've got deep pockets. They announced this way ahead of time. You basically waiting because we're a month away and you haven't even announced this event. Now you're just going to throw it out there. We know what's going to happen. They're going to use this as a vehicle for Brock Lesnar and John Cena. They're going to use this as the vehicle. A random event in Indianapolis just to, you could, and Gainbridge Fieldhouse is a nice venue. The Indiana Pacers, you could bring Tyrese Halliburton in. Cool. Tyrese Halliburton was sitting in the fucking front row a week ago. You could have announced it then. That would have been a neat little tie-in. Tyrese Halliburton's doing interviews all over the place. You could have tied it in there. What are you waiting for? And if you're and what's the point of doing this and just sliding this in, and then you're going to have 3 weeks, 3 weeks, and 3 weeks. So not only are you just oversaturating, just dwindling down and just, friggin' drowning out your own product, you're starting to disillusion people and tire people out wanting to get away from wrestling. There's such thing as too much. And I think the biggest problem for WWE this year is they are so blinded by greed and so blinded by trying to take every penny out of your wallet to the point where, man, fuck, hey, AEW's got an event here. Let's schedule the event the same weekend. 2 fucking years ago, you guys wouldn't even thought to do that shit. You shouldn't care about what AEW's doing. Yeah, if they say something publicly about you, yeah, you don't need to really give a shit about it. They're not even going to try to be the number one company, okay? They've said some things and they've had some issues, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, whatever. But why do you need to go out there and schedule a new event? And you haven't even announced it, and literally it's going to be a month away. You haven't even gotten a Clash in Paris yet, it's just, it hurts the WWE product. It hurts just the average wrestling fan because, just a lot of people across different spectrums, they're going to have to choose. That being said, the diehast of diehards, they know what they're going to watch. But if you're like trying to get some casual fan into wrestling, it's like, hey, first of all, it's a college football Saturday. For a lot of people, they watch college football. Secondly, that was all Out was named on that day beforehand. I may not like a lot of things about AEW. We need to start being fair to them. There's no reason to try and bury another company. Because WWE's staying power, they're a fucking machine. They're still going to sell tickets no matter what. But it's not going to make a dent in AEW's business. The diehast of the diehard people are still going to go to the show in Toronto. That's what it is. They're still going to watch it on pay-per-view. Like, why does this have to continue being a contest? You're just feeding into the tribalism narrative that really started in AEW. Now you guys are starting to look petty. We need to take the greed out of this, and we need to just start conducting these companies like, they're wrestling promotions, providing good entertainment for the fans, good professional wrestling for the fans, and hopefully some good stories in there. Stories have kind of been out of the way out of the way really in 2025 for both these major promotions, but this pissed me off. We need to stop counter programming. We really do. And I think WWE doing this again 2 months after, not even 2 months, a month, reportedly a month after they counter programmed that whole thing, that whole weekend. And, fortunately, the ladies delivered at Evolution, but they were set up to fail. They were absolutely fucking set up to fail because you had 2-3 weeks to build to an all women's pay-per-view that was on the back end of AEW's WrestleMania. And then you also had Saturday night's main event, which was built around Bill Goldberg's retirement. And, it felt like almost like an afterthought in some respects. So give these events space. Let the calendar breathe between both companies. There's plenty of days and, Saturdays, Sundays, or whatever that you can program something. And that being said, I think there was enough of a gap between Crown Jewel and Clash in Paris where you didn't need to insert another event. There's already been too many events this year, and you're going to probably slide into Saturday night's main event, or you're going to make another show for John Cena's last match. So why do it? It's just, it feels like a waste of time, and it feels like just, stupid energy. They're still going to sell tickets. I know some people are going to say they're still going to make money because they're a machine. It's just petty. Let AEW have their moment, and if they're and don't be the one to bury them. Let AEW, screw themselves. They've already screwed themselves a lot over the last several weeks and months and years. So I just don't get why this needed to happen. So thanks so much, everybody. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.